Hello and welcome to Week in Review with me, Jayne Secker, Kevin Maguire and Andrew Pearce are here to look back at the biggest stories of the last 7 days. What's been the big story for you, Andrew?
At last, the disgusting vile hate preacher Anjem Choudary is behind bars, where he should stay for a very long time.
Kevin?
The guilty verdict on Choudary, but the Olympics, fantastic fun.
OK, more on both of those in a second, but first let's get a taste of what the week was all about. Former Premier League footballer Dalian Atkinson died after being shot with a taser by police, prompting a debate over the use of force. 2 women were convicted of the murder of businesswoman Sadie Hartley in a dispute over her partner. Sarah Williams and Katrina Walsh were jailed for life. In Syria, 5-year-old Omran Daknish became a symbol of the long-running conflict after being rescued from his bombed home in Aleppo. While Labour leadership contender Owen Smith was criticised for suggesting negotiations would be the way to deal with Islamic State. Firefighters tackling wildfires in California and Colorado caught on camera the phenomenon of a firenado as wind whipped up the flames. And staff at a zoo in Austria were taken by surprise when it turned out that Yang Yang the panda had given birth to not 1 cub but 2. Scans had only shown 1 baby was on the way, but it quickly emerged there was a second furry bundle of joy. Very cute pictures.
Sweet.
But the image of the week appears to be the one that's certainly gone viral is the image of Omran Daknish. This is the little Syrian boy that was filmed in Aleppo being pulled out of a building. Just to talk a little bit about that, I mean, it has gone viral. Millions of people have seen this image over the world. Will it change anything?
No, I don't think it will, because remember the enduring image of the little boy who was washed up on the shores. Now that may have prompted Mrs Merkel to change her policy on allowing more migrants, refugees to come into Germany, a policy I think she now regrets. This is very poignant and very shocking, but I heard somebody on the radio saying there's hundreds of little boys like that every day, and I suspect, although we are shocked, I think people reach a point of fatigue, and I think, sad as it is, I don't think it's going to change a single thing.
But I think that's why it's important, because you can get that fatigue, but it's a reminder that in Syria this civil war and terrible conflict is going on. What, 400,000 people or so dead, 5 million refugees in mainly Jordan, Lebanon and Turkey, not Europe. Plus, within that country, millions more displaced. And yes, thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of children or minors have now died. But we must never get that fatigue.
No.
And also, let's remember, his house was attacked by the forces of Assad.
I'd say the trouble is in that war...
Not the Islamic State.
Who are the good guys here? That is part of the problem. Yeah. The rebels, and there are so many different forces.
Indeed. Right, it also emerged this week that the radical cleric Anjem Choudary was facing jail after being convicted of terror offences. It led to questions over whether websites like YouTube or Twitter should be forced to take down the speeches of Britain's most prolific jihadi recruiter. Our Home Affairs correspondent Mark White reports.
For years he was dismissed by many as a clown, full of hateful rhetoric, but someone to be ignored rather than feared. However, Anjem Chowdary's links to terrorism are many. The 4 London bombers were followers of his now banned group, Al-Muhajirun, as was the leader of an audacious plot to blow up airliners with liquid bombs. And this man, Michael Adebolajo, convicted of the horrific murder of soldier Lee Rigby. Anjem Chowdary's right-hand man, Abu Ramesa, was arrested at the same time as him, but skipped bail, fled to Syria, and is now widely believed to have taken over from Jihadi John as Islamic State's new massed executioner. When we spoke to Choudary the night before his conviction for inviting support for IS, he repeatedly refused to condemn his friend, even denying it was him in the video.
His own family cannot be certain that it's Abu Ramesa.
Well, his sister told us it sounds very much like him.
You know, and I could say the same thing. It sounds very like him. But the point is that the individual...
There are other indications.
The point is that he's hiding his own identity. It could be just about anyone. And you know, it could be people with different voices and different images.
You know the man. You know it's him.
I know it sounds
You've heard
like
the
him.
voice.
But the point is, I don't know him better than his own sister, do I? And if she's not certain...
You know him pretty well.
If she's
Actually,
not
probably
certain,
better than his own sister.
If she's
He's
not
been
certain,
estranged from her for some time. The security services believe Choudary has links to hundreds of people who've travelled to the battlefields of Syria and Iraq. From street protests to social media, Chowdhury used whatever platform he could to propagate his message. Authorities were constantly frustrated in their efforts to persuade social media providers to take down his speeches.
And it does seem finally that Twitter has closed his Twitter account.
Not before
but it's taken them an awfully long time, hasn't it?
But there's still stuff on YouTube, I think. And it's not difficult to take it down. It's offensive. It is inciting people to jihad. It's inciting people to murder and kill. He's an evil, wicked man, smug, smiling when he went into the court. Well, he's not laughing now. It shouldn't have taken as long as it did. And the sad thing is that I think the maximum sentence he can get is 10 years. That man should never be allowed out.
There's a difference between what you have to tolerate and challenge that said that you consider unpleasant and wrong, and actual inciting violence. And Anjem Choudhury, who probably inspired more than 100 people to go and join the Islamic State, that death cult, the rapists and murderers, he looked smug because he thought he was clever. He was a former solicitor. He felt he knew the law, could always keep on the right side, but he overstepped it.
It's the balance, isn't it, between free speech and stepping over that line. And he thought that he was treading it correctly.
He's like a lot of these mad demagogues. He's got the great oratorical skills, and he was always...
He's very charismatic,
clearly. Just on the right side of the law, but didn't have the courage to go out to Syria and fight for his beloved cause himself, did he? Of course not. He just urged lots of stupid, young, misguided people to take up arms instead.
Right, this is usually our Gaff of the Week slot, but rather than our regular Gaff, we've gone for some People of the Week this week, and it's this duetting father and son.
Tell me, when will you be mine? Tell me quando we can share a love divine.
There's Simon McDermott and his 79-year-old dad, Ted, who has dementia. And the pair filmed themselves singing one of Ted's favourite songs and put it online. And it went viral and helped to raise tens of thousands of pounds. Simon said that he was worried about his dad, who was a former Butlins redcoat, forgetting the words to the song. So he took him to a recording studio to get them all down so that they happen for posterity, and then decided to film a few bits and bobs in the car. And it's had a great response, hasn't it?
It's lovely.
We spoke to Simon on Sky News this week, and massive response from our viewers. Such a lovely idea.
Yeah, it's great, and it's raised more than £30,000 for Alzheimer's, and what a lovely old man he is. And music, I think, is one of the last things that goes. My father had Alzheimer's, and one of the last things he still enjoyed was music, and he would hum along and sing a few words, and great that Ted still got that.
No, it's incredibly touching, but it is a reminder that people who suffer these terrible illnesses, you're right, you sing to them and it will come back. Dennis Skinner, the Labour MP, the Beast of Bolswell, goes into homes and sings to people who wouldn't recognise their family, but all of a sudden they'll spark back into life with a tune.
But also, you know, talking to Simon this week, he pointed out that it's the family, it's his mum who's doing all of the care, and it really highlighted the issue that a lot of dementia sufferers and their families are really facing across the UK.
Yeah, my mum looked after my dad, and it was an horrendous burden.
Carers are massively undervalued. They're not supported properly.
Well, don't forget, do send us your nominations for the People of the Week or Gaff of the Week using the hashtag WNR. This week, the last flagship BHS store closed its doors for the final time. Now, at the same time, despite promising to help solve the company's pension problems, its former owner, Sir Philip Green, was still on his holiday. Our senior news correspondent, David Bowden, went to try to track him down.
We set off from the port in Ithaca to track down the former owner of BHS, Sir Philip Green, on his boat, expecting a prolonged search. But as it turned out, finding a brand new gleaming super yacht, almost as big as a football pitch, oozing ostentation and wealth off the islands of the Ionian Sea, is not too difficult. Locating its owner and attempting to talk to him about his stewardship and the ultimate demise of BHS is significantly harder.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning. We'd quite like to speak to Sir Philip.
He's not available, I'm afraid.
Can you tell us where he is? Is he on board?
No, I'm afraid.
Eventually we returned to shore, and it was here we finally encountered the retail tycoon, though he could hardly have been less pleased to see us.
I'm going to call the police if you don't go.
Sir Philip, people want to know why you're on holiday when they think that you're supposed to be sorting out the pension deficit.
Will you go away?
Why won't you talk to people?
Will you go away?
I will go away. You can squirt with me water.
Go away.
Why won't you just answer a couple of questions?
Go away.
Have you got a message for
bit are you not understanding?
Hang on. There's no need for any violence.
Just go away.
We're asking you questions.
That's going to go in the...
Get off. For the record, Sir Philip and I calmly shook hands off camera and went our separate ways. He back to his luxury yacht, my cameraman and I to ponder what just happened.
Good on him. You're Sky Man, that is.
Yeah, no, but you can see with that arrogance why there's so much fuss now and anger over what's happened to those.
His holiday was being interrupted, but I mean, he's not in charge of BHS anymore. Why should he stay here in the UK and sort it out?
Went from credit in surplus on his watch into a
571 million
deficit on his watch, and then he gave the company away for £1. That's why people are entitled to ask. People who work for BHS can't have a nice holiday and a yacht the size of a football pitch.
He took out with his wife, Tina, they're worth about 3.5 billion now, took out about 400 million. Tina took about 400 million from that company. You give it away for £1, I'm sorry, you can walk away. If the law allows you to, the law is wrong and the law should be changed. You've got to face up to your obligations to those former staff and the suppliers and the other people. But he
would say that those obligations were passed on when he sold the company.
Yeah, he would. You're quite right.
Yeah.
And MPs of all parties laughed at him.
They did.
Quick quiz for you now. Can you tell me, either of you, what physical feature can apparently affect your political leanings?
Oh, I can.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Tory boy knows.
I know.
We'll find out after the break. Welcome back to Week in Review with me, Jayne Secker. I'm joined by Kevin Maguire, Associate Editor of the Daily Mirror, and Andrew Pearce, Consultant Editor of the Daily Mail. And before the break, we asked which physical feature can affect your political leanings.
Well, he doesn't know.
Can you see the knowing smile?
Yeah, it's your height. Because the taller you are, the more likely you are to vote Tory, which hardly works for me, because I'm barely at average height for a man.
Barely.
He's much taller than me, and he backs that ridiculous Labour Party.
He's below par.
I wondered, at your high-level political soirees, Andrew, if you'd noticed that everybody was very tall.
It doesn't make me feel inadequate. It makes me stand out.
Had you noticed that people around you were shorter?
No, I mean I think it's a load of nonsense. I know, yeah. Well,
that's the word you were searching
for. Use the body part, but no, I just think it might be a coincidence, as my Welsh friends would say. But
well, the researchers compared the height and voting preference of 10,000 Britons and found that the taller you are, the more right wing you are. Ohio State University found that each additional inch in a man led to a 0.8% increase in the likelihood of Conservative support, with half of that for women.
And remember, Mrs May...
It doesn't say where that inch is.
Theresa May is very tall. For a woman. But Mrs Thatcher was very small.
Yeah, she was. Tilla the hen was not big. It was probably even smaller than you.
She was.
As he sits on his two cushions there to try and look bigger.
Right, it's been another week of success for British athletes in Rio at the Olympics. The headline grabbers, though, were cycling's golden couple, Laura Trott and her fiancé, Jason Kenny. They spoke to our sports correspondent, Paul Kelso.
Obviously, I never came here thinking that would happen. I obviously wanted to retain the 2 medals that I got in London, but you kind of don't really think about records until after, and then obviously what's to be is to be, and what you get is what you get. And so, yeah, to come away with 4 and to be top of the female list, and like you say, within amongst the great British athletes entirely, I guess it's kind of insane. It's kind of weird for me to even think about it.
How are you feeling? 3 medals to take you to 6. Alongside Sir Chris Hoy and Sir Steve Redgrave in your slipstream.
Yeah, it's amazing. Obviously, I grew up with those guys being the legends, particularly Sir Steve, and then obviously I got on the team when Chris was already Olympic champion, so I've spent my whole life looking up to those guys, so to be used in the same sentence is obviously a great honour.
How is it watching each other? Let's start with you. Laura raced first, but you were still waiting for your advantage. Did you get a chance to watch Laura win that goal?
Yeah, I was watching Laura in the points. Obviously, I was sat in the track centre ready to go in the queue and trying to relax as much as possible, but it's much harder watching than it is competing. When you can compete, it's at the end of the day, if you fluff it up, it's only kind of you that's going to be sad, but when you're watching someone else, it's I don't know, it's just, you just want them to do well. Obviously, you want them to be happy, and I think it's made it a little bit easier because Laura tends to be winning by a mile, so it does make my life a little bit easier.
Is that why you may not have actually seen the very final moment of the race?
I did, yeah. I missed time to toilet stop and just heard the gunshot go as I was coming back into the track centre. But obviously Laura doesn't need to know that. I was there when it mattered.
He was there when she looked over.
Yeah, they're great, aren't they? Aren't they fantastic?
Everybody loves a love story, don't they?
Yeah,
And they just seem such a lovely couple.
They're already talking about their wedding and their babies and will they be cyclists? And is he going to be? He's going to be.
Already.
He's going to be Sir Jason Kenny because Chris Hoy got a knighthood, and is she going to be Dame Laura Trott?
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not indeed?
And they're fantastic. And what do they give? The other cyclist who's now on 8 medals.
Bradley Wiggins.
Is he going to be Lord Wiggins?
No, he's not. But
Make him Prime Minister.
Yeah, swap the old cycling bells for wedding bells is quite nice. But I don't see why we have to shower them with honours anywhere.
Well, because
there we are.
precedent's been set. So if Hoy gets one, he's done even better. He's done as well. He should get the same.
I mean, why do you think we have done so well in the Olympics? Some people pointed out this week, Kevin, that it was John Major, wasn't it, who diverted lottery money to elite sport, and that was a really great decision.
Yeah, we spend a lot now. I think it's £300 million plus. They're professional athletes. They're very well trained, well looked after, and I think you have to be to win. But it does make each medal rather expensive. But I actually personally.
Are they not worth it though? For the national pride and.
I love all that, but it is a lot of money. I also personally object to using lottery money because people on lower incomes disproportionately spend a large amount of their incomes on lotteries, and it's a 28% levy really that goes to the Royal Opera House or the Olympics.
I couldn't disagree with him more vehemently. You know, you can tell he's been away in his socialist republics on his summer holiday, Venezuela and Cuba, with Castro and all the other lunatics. People don't have to buy lottery tickets, Kevin. It's a choice, and they spend their £2 on their lottery ticket, and I think they get great joy from the fact we've done so well in Team GB. And John Major gets a terrible press, but actually the lottery was great. They came back from an Olympic Games while he was still Prime Minister with 1 gold medal, useless performance. So they've diverted a lot of money, and I think people would rather see that than, as you'd say, perhaps being spent on the opera.
Right. Let's move on to your choices of top paper stories of the week. Andrew, we're starting with you. And this is approval for more wind power off the coast of Yorkshire.
Well, we've got so much wind in the studio with Maguire back, but on...
And your hot air.
Actually, I can't stand all these wind turbines, but if they are going to build them, get them offshore so we don't have to see them. This is at least 75 miles off the Yorkshire coast, and it is Grimsby, not the most scenic part of Great Britain, although I'm sure it's a very nice place.
And nice around
and it will be the biggest wind turbine farm in the world. It will be on stream, they say, by about 2020, and it'll be fine when it's windy, but of course if it's not windy, it won't work.
Right. Let's move on to you, Kevin. Your choice now. And this is controversy in France over the wearing of the burkini.
Yeah, it started in Cannes. It's spread now. Corsica, Le Touquet on the north coast. And I think this is completely ridiculous when you have a Western state banning what people can wear on beaches. There's an Islamophobic backlash here. I understand the outpouring of anger in France over what happened in Nice with that truck driver, but about a third of the people he killed were Muslims. And I think banning people from wearing all body suits on beaches is stupid.
I think Kevin Maguire should wear a bikini on the beach because actually that would be much better for all the other holiday makers. Spare them.
When you've got
putting them off their ice creams.
You've got the moves for it.
I think so.
Andrew, your choice next. George Osborne might not be the Chancellor anymore, but he's still handling some pretty weighty sums of money.
Extraordinary. He's been cleared by whatever committee it is in Whitehall to go on the lecture circuit. And he's been signed up by a speaking agency already. He never made a particularly good speech in the House of Commons, it has to be said, and most of his budgets, as we know, unravelled, which is one of the reasons why Theresa May fired him. But the reports are suggesting he will get £50,000 a lecture. Not bad if you can get it.
But you might pay 50.
Should we be surprised? I mean, this isn't what all politicians do.
Yeah, they do. Well, Nick Clegg gets £30,000. What did he ever do? Leave the Liberal Democrats to their worst defeat in 40 years.
What's really revolting about this is when he was in the Treasury, he was preaching austerity. He introduced the bedroom tax. He took away benefits from disabled people. He told people on low pay to tighten their belts. And he's going to get $50,000 a pop. I mean, come on.
Kevin, can you trademark a commonly used word?
Should have. Old Specsavers are going for this with the Intellectual Property Office, which trademarks. I hope this is overturned. I can't see how you can actually really
Carlsberg
trademarked
succeeded.
With probably. But I
Yeah,
disagree with
probably
that.
the
I can't
best,
see what. I probably should have gone to the doctors. I probably should have
commonly
sued.
They say intellectual property rights. It's not even intellectual because it's not grammatical.
It's just a verb.
Yeah, the apostrophes are in the wrong place, and I think it's...
No.
Why should they nick it? Why should they nick it?
It's in the wrong place.
I don't think it's right.
No, I was turned up.
Agreement.
Unfortunately.
That's unusual, isn't it? Well done. We found one story you both agree on.
Oh dear, I'm a bit worried now.
I know. Right, let's take us through your ups and downs. We're starting with you, Andrew. You're sending up this week Dick Van Dyke. There he is on the right.
Looking fantastic at 90, and I'm not quite sure about the 3 members of his band who he sings with. They're in a speakeasy.
It's an unfortunate still of them.
It is, really, particularly the one in the middle, who appears to have had something done to his face. But they're in some form of speakeasy cafe and they're singing.
Let's have a listen.
You chitty for chitty and I want whatever time I spend. Bang bang chitty chitty bang. I find for fender friend. Bang bang chitty chitty bang. I find for fender. Chitty chitty bang bang chitty chitty bang bang. Find for fender chitty chitty friend.
Now, I was only watching that film the other day, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, because he was fantastic in it. And isn't his voice
50
fantastic?
50 years ago.
50 years on, singing that song. And he looks great, and he was much better in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Of course, he was in Mary Poppins with that hello, hello, hello.
I could see you as
accent.
I could see you as the child catcher, actually. You're going to see it now. They'll all be running away.
So we're sending up Dick Van Dyke, but you are sending down, Andrew, Walker's holiday competition.
Yes, they've been told to withdraw
this
this competition ad where you could win this fantastic holiday.
20,000 holidays up for grabs, apparently.
But apparently there was only a fraction of them were actually truly available. So Gary Lineker, who fronted this ad, it's been withdrawn. And quite right, too, because people are being conned, because people were buying dozens and dozens and dozens of packets of crisps, keeping the wrappers, sending them off to enter this competition.
You had to spell the name of the destination, but you couldn't get the letters C, D or K.
Which made it quite
tricky for lots of different destinations.
China or the Caribbean, you were done for, really.
Yes. Almost 800 families, though, did one, although they had 20,000 holidays.
Do you now regret eating your body weight in crisps to try and get your holiday?
Kevin,
he failed,
in the mirror since your holiday.
We're sending enough of the personal insults. We're sending the Walker's competition down. You are sending up, though, Kevin. This is the Airlander 10.
Kevin on holiday, bouncing about on the beach.
Look, it's the bottom half of your bikini. There we are. You know, it just doesn't show your moves.
It has been dubbed the giant bottom, hasn't it?
It has. The Airlander, the Tenor, the airship in Bedfordshire was launched, developed by the American military, but no real purpose. Yeah, well, that is the problem of finding a point of it, because it's where the old R101 burst into flames in 1930 and 48 people died. It uses helium rather than hydrogen, so it won't explode in the sea. Pleasure cruises, yes, but I suspect really for flight, it's a bit like trying to bring back canal boats pulled by horses. It's not really going to find a commercial use. I don't know that I'd want to
go on that. Doesn't look very secure, does it?
It must be, but I'm
sure it is.
You're not that heavy. You're not going to pull it down.
Share your reservations.
But they said that about the Hindenburg, you know, secure.
Right, we're sending the airship up, though, mainly because it's got the nickname the giant bottom. But you're sending down, Kevin, pesticides, neonicotinoids, and their effect on wild bees.
Yeah, killing bees. They're used on oilseed rape, and they've been killing our bees. And without pollinisation, we're going to be really in a pretty tricky place. And it's the EU's been pushing for it to be restricted. Britain restricts it now. The great fear is once we're out the European Union, that the restrictions will be lifted.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Brexit rant.
I wish
Maguire.
you would go.
You can tell he's back.
I wish you'd go.
Well, a lot of people had thought, it has been thought there's a link, but this is the first time it's
been confirmed, absolutely.
Yeah. OK, so we're sending pesticides down for the sake of all Britain's lovely wild bees. Thank you both very much. And don't forget to send us your nominations using the hashtag WINR if you have anything you'd like to see as an up, down, or a people or a gaff of the week even. Thank you very much for joining us for our review of the week. We'll be back with much more next week. But for now, it's goodbye from them.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.
Bye.